For its fifth chairman, the Department of Internal Medicine would look outward from UT Southwestern, turning to an acclaimed hepatologist from the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center, Dr. Gregory Fitz. A graduate of Duke Medical School, Fitz would build his career at the University of California, San Francisco, and at Duke before becoming head of the Division of Gastroenterology and Hepatology at Colorado. Like Dr. Foster before him, his first contact for the internal medicine position at UT Southwestern would come from one of the school's Nobel laureates.
I got a phone call from Mike Brown, who was the head of the search committee. I was sitting in my lab and he called, and I remember it very well, wondering why he was calling. And so it gradually unfolded, and I had known UT Southwestern by reputation for a long time. I'd always been in the business of trying to recruit people from here to whatever institution I was in. I left 30 inches of snow on the ground and came to springtime in the course of a plane flight, but was very impressed. I mean, the institution's quite unique in its commitment to science and its structure, and so it was very interesting just to come see it. I think I spoke to everyone twice, measured in the hundreds.
Two of the people he spoke with included his predecessors, Selden and Foster.
They were warm, welcoming, just incredible information about history, and but also forward-looking history and what might we do in the future. So it was really a very interesting time, and you always have a little trepidation about following such tradition as those two. One who literally founded the department, Dr. Selden, and one who had been here so long and at the time was on the President's Bioethics Committee. So you're certain if you disagree with him, you're going to hell.
In the end, it was the promise of UT Southwestern that convinced Fitz to take the chairmanship position, a belief in the enormous potential of the institution.
I think it was the promise of what this place could be. The history is at that time was fascinating to me as an outsider, in that it had committed itself absolutely to science, and it had chosen a path in the clinical world that was focused exclusively on indigent care, the safety net partnership with Parkland Hospital, and that was pretty typical of medicine in the 1960s and 70s and 80s. And then there was the rise of the university hospital. And this institution chose not to go there. But by the time I was looking at the institution, those issues really had come to the fore. And so the promise I felt that some of the clinical programs needed another outlet, not instead of Parkland, but in addition to Parkland, so that we could really have a well-rounded experience.
The department by that time in 2003 had grown to about 275 faculty members and had been run for the past 52 years by just 2 people.
There was no fear of change. In fact, the biggest proponents of change were Selden and Foster. And they are smart people who've been leaders for years and were looking forward to the next steps, and they proved to be actually the greatest partners.
For his part, Fitz directed much of his efforts towards building the department's clinical programs in order to train the highest caliber physicians and to bring the benefits of the school's scientific prowess to patient care.
My big goals were to continue sort of the outstanding record of training and education and in some ways service at Parkland, but to really set about in a serious manner building the private referral. So you need all flavors of opportunity to do that, but also to be really sure that this science that is so strong here could actually be packaged and put into people.
Fitz relied on a large number of colleagues, both within the department and elsewhere at UT Southwestern, in implementing his vision for internal medicine.
I'd say Al Gilman as the dean was fantastic and a big supporter of the department, and particularly the science. John McConnell ran a lot of the clinical academic operations and was a really good partner in trying to develop some of the new initiatives, the move toward a university hospital and such. And within the department, I was really fortunate to have a number of vice chairs and division heads, most of whom are still here and still active. Work as a team, and so I learned a lot, but they did most of the work and I did most of the learning, I think.
At the same time, Fitz strengthened the department by bringing in significant new hires that enabled UT Southwestern to expand and enhance its medical offerings to the community in a number of key areas.
I don't want to be exclusionary, but I would say Philip Shearer in the Touchstone Diabetes Center and Joel Elmquist in the Division of Hypothalamic Research. They were new people and they came in to work with people that were already here, like Jay Horton and Helen Hobbs in building, and Mike Brown and Joe Goldstein in building what I think is a powerhouse in metabolic studies. There was a lot of effort in the cancer side, oncology with Joan Schiller, and then Jim Wilson came in as the Cancer Center Director, and other colleagues, and this is now an NCI-funded or designated cancer center that didn't exist, just a few years ago. And I think that's an amazingly important accomplishment for North Texas, but also for science, again, putting science into people. Transplantation, solid organ transplantation, on the university side didn't really exist. And again, these are always multidisciplinary sorts of efforts. And so surgery stepped to the plate in recruiting transplant surgeons. Juan Arenas in medicine with Don Rocky came in on the gastroenterology, hepatology side, and many, many others. And so now these programs are prospering.
In 2009, after 6 years on the job, Fitz left the chairmanship of internal medicine to assume a new post at UT Southwestern, Dean of the Medical School and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs.
My original thought had been that if I came here to be chair of medicine, I would try to do that job for 10 years because it would take that long to know if you'd really made a difference. I still think the best job I've ever had was actually that of chair of medicine. But with just institutional needs and the way these things worked out, I had my arm twisted and here I am. I am in fact proud of how the Department of Medicine looks different now than it did, meaning it's really extended its reach beyond what it was into these other domains that we've talked about, cancer and transplantation, and made it necessary to build a university hospital.
As the Dean of the Medical School and Executive Vice President of UT Southwestern, Fitz had a hand in selecting his successor, Dr. David Johnson of Vanderbilt.
We interviewed, I think, some fantastic candidates from around the country, and a lot of them were like me. They were more basic science than they were clinical. David Johnson was further toward the clinical end of the spectrum. As the process evolved, frankly, the more I talked to David, the more I knew he was the best fit.